to 20, after 9 years.
Welcome back. Welcome back from lunch, everyone, and to the final part of deliberation and Palliser Paper Road proposed bylaw. Just to recap, we had spent some time with questions and the beginnings of deliberations. By and large, to my opinion, it seemed like there was a clear agreement that we, the council, need to clearly understand the path of the unformed level road. So that was kind of where it seemed like we were starting to land, a clear understanding through survey, pegs, mapping or otherwise, where the paper road currently exists. And then there seemed to be sort of two opinions coming forth. One, that the proposed option one amended to allow side-by-sides and quad bikes was potentially the way forward with some additional steps. And then option one amended to remove all vehicle, motorised vehicle access. That seemed to be the second opinion. So we are going to resume deliberation and debate. I think we've kind of agreed on this marking of the paper road. So I don't think we need to debate survey or marking of the road any further, but we do need to progress future steps. So I open the floor for further debate. Councillor Maynard.
So I think my biggest reason for for thinking that at the moment it needs to be just pedestrian and cyclist access only. I personally, I'm not quite sure with regards to e-bikes. I don't see a problem with that because there are those that it's easier for them to get around with an e-bike, and so I don't have an issue with that. But until the road can be, until some kind of fence goes up to start that, to start the access way to the paper road, there is still the opportunity for vehicles to go onto the private land, and that's what we're trying to actually stop. We heard from one of the landowners saying that actually people have driven over burial sites and he's had to watch. Can't do anything because they're on a quad bike up there. So it's just while we're getting this part sorted, I absolutely agree that we need a hard timeline on that. But that's why I would like to just remove the vehicle access and just have pedestrian and cyclists only.
Councillor McCauley.
Yes, I agree totally. To remove the quad bikes, any vehicles during this period. I mean, once it's fenced, or if it's fenced and if it's surveyed and we know where it is, that's all open for discussion again. But I think we just heard about the unscrupulous thing these people do on quad bikes, and I know they get in that big space and just put their foot down and go rah. So yeah, very strongly feel that, but I also feel really good to have coordination from the council to orchestrate these community groups, hopefully pass as much over to them as possible, to pass it on, to take the workload off, and also just to get on the permits when if the vehicles are allowed in again. Hopefully that can be a source of revenue that could fund quite a lot of aspects. But as Councillor Elam said, we can talk to these other groups and things to try and learn from them, not reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. And the 4x4 group that presented to us verbally said that in other reserves and areas they are working on a permit system. So I think there's a case to think that permits could potentially work quite well. Yes. If there's some further investigation about how to practically implement that. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And I would like to support Aidan's proposal, and I guess that he's been spending some time about wording for that, but with the exception of two things. One is the vehicular access, side-by-sides, I don't want to see at this particular time. And I want this, I'd like this for a 3-year review period, because that's the time limit that Harmy was thinking about in terms of healing of the land, even though that the private land will not have an impact on our paper road. I think that 3-year time frame for us to review this would be an appropriate measure at this stage. But in that period of time, of course, we can be talking to our community, we can be talking to DOC, we can be talking to our coastal and rural advisory group as well, because they'll have some influence in that field. So I think to get things ironed out today is that we pretty much adopt, Aidan, some of your wording and some of that, with the exception of those, the timeline 3 years and the no vehicular access other than bikes and e-bikes. I really support because I ride one myself.
Janice.
Interestingly, on e-bikes, we had a discussion about why DOC didn't allow e-bikes into the reserve earlier.
Yep.
And Lena helpfully found that anything over 300 cc's is classed as a motor vehicle under the NZTA rules, which is probably why DOC have restricted e-bikes, but also that they can allow people to go faster in places that could be unfamiliar to them, and so that's why probably in terms of the reserve they restrict e-bikes. But
What CC? Kilowatt, sorry.
Kilowatt.
I was going
I was going to say, yeah, CC, yeah.
That's 50 cc.
I've got a under 50 here.
What is an e-bike? What is an e-bike ranking?
kilowatt.
So that would rule out most e-bikes, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, she felt between
Fast as well.
210,000 kilowatt or watts is what you can get on a bike battery, between 210,000. Did you say?
Yeah, they range from 200 to 10,000
Watts.
Wow.
Yeah, and then 300 watts above is considered a motor vehicle.
Oh, well, I wouldn't like to see e-bikes ruled out. I still
No.
think that there's an opportunity there for getting those people, for instance, who aren't quite as able to visit those areas, but definitely four-wheelers and four-wheel motorbikes.
Yeah, and for me,
Side by
it's
side.
just while they get it fenced,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay, thank you, councillor Evans. Did you have
I just want to read out some proposed wording. Amend the proposed bylaw to allow pedestrian, non-motorised wheeled devices, quad bike and side-by-side access for a 12-month period only. Next bit, immediately survey or define the exact route of the ULR. Immediately install signage identifying the exact route of the ULR from legal road. Immediately establish a stakeholder working group, station management access group consisting of Ngāti Kiniwaka, Ngāi Community Council, the new Coastal and Rural Advisory Group, DOC, Walking Access Commission, Heritage New Zealand, and the national body of that four-wheel drive New Zealand Association, and their actions and responsibilities are within 12 months to arrange, and councillors to be the enabler and facilitator of this group. The actions for this group are to arrange and fund fencing of the ULR off or from private land, arrange and fund maintenance of the ULR to the fill in potholes, etc., and consider permitting for four-wheel drive vehicles to use the ULR. Liaise with DOC, recreation of a car park at the stone wall for day visitors only. And we've got some other actions for Doc, but then
Unfortunately, can't control what Doc do. My immediate reaction to what you've said, Aidan, is the funding and maintenance of the ULR. I think that that to me is the problematic thing. The moment we start funding maintenance to that road, we put ourselves in that
range.
It's the range.
For the stakeholder working group or the management access group, that's their responsibility.
With nothing to do with things.
I think it's the fund. That's the fund. I think it's to my mind, the funding aspect of that. You could make future provision for future maintenance of the UL a responsibility for that access group. I think the moment we put funding in there, I think we.
Madam Chair, there might be one other legal problem that we face. ULR, you cannot deny, you cannot permit, or you have to use it. Once it's open, can't charge to use. Once it's open, it's open. There are only certain legal requirements which you must face to limit people using, because it is a road.
Yes.
So that part might.
Once the bylaw expires.
Yes. Good.
And the car park
Try to
for-
buy also important.
at the stone wall, I disagree with, unfortunately, because once again, we're trying to discourage vehicles going to that area, and I don't believe that they can go into that area anyhow, can they?
They can drive through it, they cannot drive into it. There is an unformed legal road that bisects the reserve. That's what Doc said this morning. Drive through it, can't park there. Councillor Woodcock.
As far as that goes, Colin, I would have thought if you had talks with Doc, they would make an easement where the road ends, parking area easement for cars to park at, like not that you can go driving everywhere, but I said it's a scenic reserve. The whole idea of it is for people to go and see it, enjoy it.
But we're not even cars going up there at all.
But this is the whole thing, getting through that process. You get fenced, and if the road is viable to be used to get there.
The 12-month period, but the expiry of the bylaw when four-wheel drives.
And I'm fully with Aidan, or I think 12 months, set of timeframes, 3 years just drags it on and on and on. We need to get this sorted quickly. One thing I was going to ask Aidan, in your access and group, you're talking about, did you have Gnarly Ratepayers Association with?
Of that.
No, community.
Or you could say / Ratepayers Association.
Yeah, but we need to also put in, and other people as council needs appropriate, because,
Yeah,
it's not a closed group. We've decided.
I think feel like we're heading in the right direction with now that we've got a suggested pathway that Aidan has come up with. There are some tweaks, I think, before we can all comfortably agree to it. But I think we've got some words in place now that we can actively tweak. I think the process, if I am correct, is for Aidan to move his words as a recommendation and find a seconder, and then we can wait and amend from there.
Madam Chair, is it possible for Amy to type up the proposed resolution, perhaps display it on the screen, so that we can all get a good understanding, and then we can make the adjustments we feel are more appropriate? Is that all right? Is that possible, Amy?
I've got some so far, but they might not be exact because you're talking.
I thought I was talking slow.
The other thing, one to do with the 3-year thing. The quicker we get the starting point goes on that council will take to do stuff. We did it
Today.
stuff done in a year. It also takes away, if you leave it 3 years, that's leaving longer number for people to start getting annoyed not having access to stuff. That's the car fence or what's food. No, it's only for 12 months. And more likely, I think, to go, this is cool, it's getting sorted, let's just run with it.
Yeah.
And to add to Aidan's thing too, I do think we need to look at that car park at the Longhouse seriously about what we're going to do for area. Whether we have to talk to Harmony, whether they have an easement for a little bit through the gate there or whatever. Something needs to be done.
The discussion with Doc, it's actually a Doc reserve, I believe.
Okay, so let's just pause. Let Amy get Aidan's words up, then we can move and second if there is, and debate and tweak from there.
I got one on it.
I don't think 12 months is 12 months is long enough. There's so much to do. It's,
What do we mean halfway, go 18 months?
That's the private hands all of that.
yeah, but
My biggest thing is we cannot be going for 3 years, and that is only because then you are going to put a whole another group of governance that are about to leave the table in the same boat.
Yes.
Determined about it.
Yeah.
And those stuff.
I think 2 years would be a good compromise because
Yeah,
So-
council in 1 year's time need an extension, they can make an extension on, but
but the
get your mark made a year's time.
staff don't think a year's long enough. They need a bit longer. It's
I hope-
really complicated putting a group.
Narita's got a question.
Just pause while Amy does the typing and then,
I'd like to hear from Narita. She just.
well, we will start with Narita, but we'll just, I've got like seven parts. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Madam Chair, you're getting flustered. It is wearing on the day. It's called determined.
You get $3 on the box of those voicing things together.
The only thing, probably the only reason 12 months is just too tight is
Things that can be agreed.
we're coming up to Christmas.
On the fence, yeah.
You know, we're just not going to get anything done of anything. And
Move fast, the column.
no, just the councils, it's community. We're involving communities. They don't move fast either.
Well, maybe we need to get the surveying and the, have a stipulation
That
of
is fine.
surveying, fencing and fencing as possible. So the roads get on.
There's some way.
That has to be done straight away. Yeah.
Something else that shows it because if it's already on that. There's somewhere we can find that information, but you take on.
One's toast.
I mean, I'd rather, I'm not leaving them.
Because they just, you can see.
They were quite, yeah, quite smooth. They were all
They need to be told.
They do not.
They're what?
Shut them.
No.
They wasn't want
Just
to.
remember the recording stuff, so.
Awesome. Yeah.
I missed a call from the sister. She must have been, I don't know, but I think I've ignored it.
Chris has taken more than bothered today, but I think she's got neighbour three girls as well. But on school holidays. Oh.
Right, Amy is going to put up the proposal that Aidan has come up with. Narita, you had a comment?
Yeah, that's you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to comment on the idea of multiple groups being involved in a access committee.
Yep.
And a time limit of 12 months, really unachievable.
Yeah.
Relationship building, and which is what it will be. Remember, at this time of the year, leading into elections, leading into Christmas, front year is a statutory holidays. There's so many breaks in the year. It's really hard to build those relationships. And us as an organisation coming at various groups saying, we need your attention on this, we need you to do this. It's that's not how you build relationships, and not a good position for council to take to demand.
I think, I don't disagree that the timeline would be tight. I think the position that council would take would be an invitation to these bodies to participate. and it would be up to them whether they choose to or not. What we've heard through the process is that these various groups have said we want to be involved. And I think just to be really clear is that that would be an access management group or whatever we end up calling it, stakeholder group, et cetera, specific to the paper road. And so to my mind, with the surveying, potential fencing, the issue of protection of private land is somewhat resolved, and then the access management group is to preserve access to what is the public road. So it's keeping those two situations.
Suggestion is for us to facilitate that. That is not going to be easy to do. You know, some of those communities are already jagged as it is. Some of them are, you know, it's going to be hard work for this small council to manage and facilitate those multiple groups, but they all have their own purpose and vision. I don't know where you're going to get the synergy to get that to work properly without, you know, that could be years of relationship building. So I just think like it's.
We can't allow it to be years, because this has been going on since 1950 or probably longer. And we've come to this table. We need to come up with this solution. And for a way forward. I disagree with having a buy. I mean, I'm sympathetic to Ngāti Hiriwaka, and I've seen the damage to their land, and they want to repair their whenua. And I think if we can come up with a solution to define the route, to have a measure or a way forward to keep people off the whenua, and on that defined route to go to public land at the end, which we've heard from so many people, I think we need to come up with a solution sooner rather than later and take action, because I don't want to see it roll over into the next council if things get changed.
Absolutely.
You've already got some certain groups out of Maui that have all said they're all on board. They've set up their own things with contractors.
Yeah, we've got names, haven't we?
But that still requires facilitating and relationship building, and I'll just hand that over to Janice.
Yeah.
I agree with Narita that we need 2 years. The reason being the first sort of 5-6 months post-election, we're going to be heavily into inducting a new council, a new mayor. All sorts of process changes are going to take place depending on committee structure. All of that, we've got to set up the Rural and Coastal Advisory Group from scratch. So that's going to take a good chunk of that first year to do that without then moving into the next one. So I would suggest that 24 months rather than 12 would be a target we could achieve. Otherwise, we're going to fail because we won't have achieved what you are setting us up to do in 12 months.
Yeah.
Can I just ask though, with that group that is written there, can that be achieved just to set up to establish the stakeholder access group? That's not saying to have fixed everything, that's saying to establish it in that 12-month period. So that's in the 12-month period. I see what you're saying with the first like 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, I think.
But this is for over the 12 months, so.
An access planning solutions.
Yeah, so that's the bit that might need to change, but the established stakeholder access group is within that 12-month period rather than.
I'm sorry, can I just clarify, Hayden, because you are the person who has proposed this solution. What is your priority? So is your priority that, because from when I read the words, it seems to me that your priority is this and this and this. And actually this is probably is kind of the second priority, the length of the bylaw, because actually what you're trying to achieve is actually quick action. So quick action that identifies the path of the unfull legal road, quick action that tells people how to use the land, where to use the land, what they're allowed to do on the land, etc. And actually this, which is long-term sustainable access that is not detrimental to any user, well, any of the whenua, etc. The bylaw is almost a stopgap to allow these long-term things to happen.
Yeah.
Is that
So the bylaw is the immediate right now, put things in place to go forward while those other steps.
well,
They are the immediate, I don't want to use the term long-term, because we do a long-term plan, which has got a 10-year life. I don't want long-term, I want
yeah.
I want the immediate, the bylaw in place, and then I want those other actions to happen as soon as possible, so that then when the bylaw expires, we've got certainty going
in
forward.
place. So, but that's what I'm saying. If this takes longer than 12 months to reach a outcome, that's okay. The immediacy is in the establishment.
Yeah.
The immediacy is in getting these things.
Those 3 points, but yeah, I wanted the bylaw to be kicked off by us to provide that protection immediately. And then while that's in place, those other matters are action, and we're kicking things off and taking action to provide a medium term solution to go forward after the bylaw.
Sustainable.
Yeah.
Sustainable.
After the bylaw has expired.
Yeah, could I
That I have.
Yeah, but
That's
So-
the problem.
so which brings me to my next question.
Oh, wording like that.
It says to facilitate a long-term access plan and solution, so we could maybe change that to facilitate a sustainable access plan
That's
to take place at the 12-month mark. And so
for the stakeholder access group to do that.
what the staff are saying is that this is unlikely to be achieved in 12 months. So is there a flexibility on the outcome of it?
Can I just add to that? Because if this expires at 12 months and this isn't ready at 12 months, you've got to extend that to keep basic access. So would you not be better to have 24 months
Yeah.
for that at the start?
Yes.
To give us the time to work, to get to the solution, because
Yeah.
I'm looking at an induction plan that runs until February, so I know staff involvement in that is going to be heavy. We will not hit this in 12 months.
What about 18 months? Like, can I ask Janice for the sustainable access plan solution? What, we own the road, right? But we decided it's 2 different parts of land, the road and private land. An access plan, wouldn't think would be that hard when you own your own, whether you're talking about car park at the end, there's bits and pieces like that that's gonna, and where the fencing comes into play and who pays for it, but I know you guys are really busy, but I find it hard to see how.
I go back to what Narita said, you don't just walk into a room with a group of people and say, we want to achieve this.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, we've got to have agreed this.
and they've all got different agendas.
We're going to have a period of hearing everyone's agenda and getting everybody to come to a point of agreement. That is not going to happen in a couple of meetings.
Could I please add, look, I'd really like to look at turning it completely around. I'd like to set the bylaw in place. I don't know if this is possible, which I personally think is to stop all vehicle access to give the land time to heal. Then we put the incentive to these groups, and as soon as they get a solution which is sustainable, then it can be opened up perhaps to the vehicles. So to give them a carrot to say, well, you know, if we get this done, then could the council dissolve the bylaw, because would that be a possibility of doing it so we didn't have that gap, because that'd be terribly embarrassing. Yeah, and we'll give them an incentive to come up with a solution that the iwi and the council will accept.
Thank you. Firstly, I do not agree with the first number 1 up there, because I don't agree that quad bikes and side-by-side vehicles, now that I know what they are, should have access at all. So I could only support that if it's basically for pedestrians and cyclists. I also think that 2 years is the practical time frame. But also, I wonder whether number 5 isn't just having a sort of a magic thinking moment, because what is it that you are going to develop a plan to give access to? I actually think as it's written, it's objectionable to Ngāti Hinawaka. Because if somebody thinks that the outcome of this is that somehow, no, this is where the magic thinking happens, and Ngāti Hinawaka is going to allow everybody to have access to their land again and 4-wheel drives, it's not going to happen. So I think we need actually something that is much more specific.
Sorry, can I just interrupt? So I think that just circling back to the beginning, I think we need to be very, very clear that our decision today is not about allowing access to private land.
Yeah.
Our decisions today in the future is about access to the paper road. So this 4 and 5 is about sustainable access to the paper road, provided that it fully exists. It isn't about this providing 4-wheel drive access to Ngāti Hinawaka land, because we can't do that. We can only control access to the paper road, and our responsibility is to make sure that access to the paper road doesn't impact private landowners. So these guys would be having a major thinking moment about allowing access to Ngāti Hinawaka land. We're not here to discuss that. We're only here to discuss access to the paper road.
So nobody would object if we inserted the words access to the paper road.
Well, no, because that we can't give access to private land. I couldn't give access to Woody's land or.
Oh, I agree.
Or Aidan's. We can only stop,
So,
amend.
so for that point 5, if we just had that, that the stakeholder access group is to facilitate sustainable access plan and solution for the ULR.
Right.
Yeah, and to restrict access to private land, maybe.
Prevent access.
Access to private.
I'm with the deputy mayor on this. It's not our job to restrict or permit access to private land. Our role is only on the road, because that's the area we have control over.
We have to state money here fence. Is that how we do that? Something.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying, like the first step is to put up something that marks where the paper road, sorry, I like ULR, like Rofflin. So yeah, so I think if the first thing is to mark that off, and until that happens, that's why I disagree with having quads and side-by-side vehicles until that's until that's fenced and people can't go onto private land. And that would be my biggest thing on this. The other thing is number 5. When you're saying that you're wanting to establish a stakeholder access group and it's got all these different people in it, we're hearing from staff that that's going to be really difficult for them. So it may be that this sits more at a governance, level. So it may be that there's councillors that sit on there, because the thing is, what are we trying to achieve? We're trying to achieve a sustainable access plan for the ULR.
Yes, yeah, because what this is saying is this is restricting vehicle access, and what this is saying is this is looking to see if there is a future where actually 4x4s and motorised vehicles can use the land or not. That we put in further conversation.
I think we even heard today that actually if they can stay on the paper road, they're not an issue. But the thing is, until it's marked and blocked, then so I mean we actually heard that from Matuahami. So I think that that's something not to be forgotten. So when we're looking at this, I don't believe that we're actually looking at, we need we need an access group. Do we need to have all of these things in place? And also the 12-month period. I just don't think that, I agree. I don't think that's enough time with the other things that we've got, but to establish the group, I think does still need to be moving in the background while the other things are happening, because we've got traction right now. when with those groups, and we've got the names and things. So I think to be starting to build that group and it shows the councils, because I absolutely agree with Narita when she says that it's actually really hard to keep that. But now while we've got that momentum, I think that this is probably a good time to start putting those feelers out there, saying we haven't forgotten, we've listened to you, and this is our next step.
We're taking you up on your offer
Yes,
to work with us.
Yes.
Can I just ask a question? So if we put a bylaw in place that has a defined timeline, 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, what is the process? Does it simply expire? Or do we need to go through a revoking process that would require consultation?
I believe that if the bylaw has a expiry timeframe, it expires in that timeframe. If we were to revoke the bylaw prior to a period of time, we would need to go to consultation. And also, if we were to say 12 months, we get to a point where we realise we're not going to make 12 months and we need to get another year, we need to go through the consultation process again.
Yes.
So submissions, hearings, deliberation. So that would be the process for either revoking or amending the bylaw.
4 months.
Maybe 2 years.
So the expiry date then becomes actually quite critical.
That's correct, because you would ultimately have it expiring about 2 years from the day it is adopted by council.
If we put the 24 months, but of course, once that part, we're able to actually then relook to make those, it doesn't mean it would come to us. It could come to us in 12 months still, but we've got that 24 month
time frame. And if we didn't have that time frame, then we would need to essentially go back through the process and essentially start afresh.
Okay.
And
So if you had your 2 years, say we've done 24 months and everything was settled in 14 or 18 months or whatever, space of times, and everything's fenced and that's all, everything's secure for the private bank.
Okay, would be fine.
Yeah, what's that?
Not good.
No, I'm just saying, Kate.
Yeah, it's hypothetically, yeah, hypothetically.
If that was all done.
Yeah.
You just open the gate and let people go through it, not, because you're not going to enforce it for the extra few months anyway, are you? If it's, you know what I mean, if it's, everything's done that you want to get done.
I'm keen as mustard to get stuff done, because, you know, you've made the comments earlier on today about the slow progress with local government. But, you know, we've had this whole discussion, we've had this big discussion. It's a process that your staff teams have been working through for a long time. Nobody having have had enough of it, and they've come and spoken to us. We need to come to a resolution and get to the end game. We can't keep on pushing it out, whether it's 3 years or whatever. I think we just need to, I mean, I take your points about the staff workload. I mean, I'm not happy with the suggestion of 24 months. I'd like to see 18 months, but if that's the consensus of 24 months, but I want to ensure that we actually get this thing locked and loaded and sorted out well before that deadline time, whether it's 24 months or 18 months.
Can I just ask a question of the staff? When we say that this is not doable in 12 months, and when we talk and we say, well, actually, if we do 1 to 3, we're kind of almost there. What parts of it can't you do in 12 months? Could you do 1 to 3 in 12 months? And then is actually 4 and 5, are 4 and 5 necessary? If you've fenced, you've defined, well, not even fenced, if you've surveyed, defined, put signage up, etc., do you need 3 and 4?
Yeah.
Have you,
5 then.
I guess the question is, what is the outcome that we're trying to achieve? And to my mind, the outcome we're trying to achieve is to clearly define the paper road so that damage, vandalism and trespass stops to the private land. So is 4 and 5 necessary on such a scale? Or is it, do you reduce 4 and 5 down and it just becomes about actually working with, in some capacity, with local people to kind of, that have offered to make maintenance? I'm not sure.
There's 4. You know, we have an action page, cut to those, you know, action items. And it may be that that's where that established, because one, you know, first we have to establish our rural and coastal advisory group before. If those kind of sit in the action plan, so that way, I just hate for any of it to be lost. I'm not lost, but you know, when we have lots and lots of things happening, like a changeover and things, I'd hate for this to be lost, I guess, you know.
Is there a future where rather than prescribing today this 4 and 5, we actually say that once the rural and advisory group is established, 4 and 5 essentially become their first orders of business.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's wonderful.
because
Yeah.
you could almost put as 4, you could put there, this is
Mm.
to facilitate, so it all becomes just one.
Yeah,
So the reason behind it, this is to facilitate a sustainable access plan and solution for the ULR at Cape Palliser.
yeah, but the rural advisory group could actually pick up that and
Yeah.
facilitate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what you said was absolutely right. And that's a first key role for them. Give them their first
Mm.
job. They haven't even started yet.
I'm firmly with Aidan there. I like to get things done. Sort of sick of being on council for 3 years and seeing things that drag out. But in saying that, I would prefer 12 or 18 months, but in saying that 24, Jess was saying about having to go through the whole consultation again to extend it would just be ridiculous.
Yeah,
We maybe need to play a little bit on the safe side. And as far as, once the rural coastal advisory group, I think that should be one of the first things the next council will set up and get it going. But I'm looking at number 4, and I can't see any of those groups that wouldn't want this sorted as soon as possible.
that's right.
And I can't see any of them wanting to drag this out for 3 years.
No, but I agree. I think that there's benefit to all of them to
Work together.
work together. I just wonder if rather than us prescribing today who needs to be kind of engaged, whether we bring that to rural and coastal advisory group.
Could I add, I disagree actually. I just think this, if we don't take it that further step, I just see that it could just be one of many other failures along the way, that things have been defined as, you know, camping's forbidden, but nobody knows about it and things like that. I think we've got to get it to the stage where we close it off to everything except walking and bikes, and then in that stage, then a way is achieved that, you know, if these groups meet it together, that we have a place that keeps the vehicles off the private land, and that is put in place, and then they can go on. But I think it's got to be taken right through, because what if we just leave it kind of airy-fairy with a advisory group set up? I mean, advisory groups achieve nothing unless they've got a very tight goal.
So why don't we just bring it to a vote now?
So I was making another, you've all mentioned fence, you don't mention fencing anywhere.
Yeah, no.
Define the,
That's not fencing.
That's not fencing.
Fine.
That's, what we were in, I just mentioned fencing and I don't see fencing.
I think the thing, there's a couple of difficulties about fencing. One of them, one of them is there's still a question mark over who is responsible for fencing. But there are other ways of defining the edge of the paper road outside of fencing. And in this case, given the number of historical and significant sites out there, it may be that traditional fencing, i.e. something that has posts or waters that are rammed into the ground, might not be appropriate. That might be boulders or something on top of the land that you wouldn't necessarily call fencing.
And that's just an observation because everybody mentioned fencing.
Yeah, but at the start, so it's knowing your boundaries. So yeah, when we say fencing, we're talking about.
Four-wheel drive going outside.
Define the boundary.
No, but once we've done that, there will be something that, so that type of fencing, and even if it's at the start until you get to the boulders or whatever, we need to be able to take that next step.
All of these small details that we're devising now were some of the things that, some of the reasons that I thought something like this would be beneficial. And that's because there is a risk that with any decision that we make at this table, we inadvertently miss point 75, which was, oh, we didn't actually think about what happens in the case of this, that, or the other thing happening. And so having kind of a long-term sustainable access plan, to my mind, is the ability to kind of sweep up those things and address them. But I do worry that this might be clunky and take too long. But we need to take action. We need to move forward, and we need to take responsibility for what is ours, which is the paper road, and address the concerns of our community as well. So we need to do something, but I think we need to make sure that there is a clause or a recommendation that allows for you didn't think about this small detail on the day. How do we address that? Councillor Woodcock.
I just think that somewhere in there, like, I asked to see whether it's in number 4 or whatever, we put a couple of bullet point recommendations of things that maybe need to be considered by those people, such as fencing, lighthouse car park at the end of the road. You know, just jot a few things to get them on a similar page what we're thinking.
Yes, the only concern that I would have about putting fencing into there is that, to me, two addresses that quicker than a group does.
Yeah, well, it doesn't, it doesn't want me which one they go, but somewhere those things need to be put into place.
I'm wondering if we could move 1, 2 and 3
I disagree with Ron.
as a resolution, and have 4 and 5 as a separate
To be moved.
resolution.
Sorry, are we?
And that's 24,
Yeah, it's 24 for that.
but I still disagree with it.
This is currently allowing quad bikes and side by sides. So we'll move and second it and see where it goes.
I'll second it.
Sorry.
Just with regard to quad bikes and side by sides. The reason the vehicle's gone all over the neighbouring property is they can't have access down the paper road corridor. So by giving them access through a corridor which they can't proceed, aren't you opening the door for negative feedback and abuse of joint properties? Continue.
Yes, totally.
But at the same time, immediately we're going to be surveying and defining the exact route.
Okay, so what we'll do is, just like any vote, councillor Elam's has moved this recommendation, councillor Woodcock has seconded it. 1, 2 and 3. My understanding is we vote, if the vote fails, there is room for this to be amended.
So we'll do it individually.
Oh, we can do it.
They're pretty much the same, and rather they're straightforward.
No.
From my,
You're going to add to it.
it's a staged approach.
I don't want to see it.
Yeah. But we need to take action immediately, and then 4 and 5 is set up the process for an endearing solution going forward once the bylaw expires.
Sorry. Any comment on this before we put it to the vote? Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I will move an amendment that quad bikes and side by sides be excluded.
Can we go back to the first motion and move and second and have the vote on it before we go to amendments, please?
No, you can't. You have an amendment before you vote.
But this is an amendment.
This is an amendment.
This is a whole amendment to the report. This isn't in the report at all. So you have to either accept this amendment, and if this fails, then you amend again. But you have to do this one first. Is that right, Emmy? Because this is, yeah.
Okay, so I'm putting items 1 through 3 to the vote, amend the proposed Cape Palliser paper road bylaw to allow pedestrian, non-motorised wheeled devices, quad bikes and side-by-side vehicles access for a 24-month period only. 2, immediately survey, that should be, and define the exact route of the unformed legal road. Install signage to identify the exact route of the line. Moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no.
No.
The motion is failed. Now,
So now you can.
Now then.
now,
So,
and sorry, councillor Plummer has abstained due to judicial responsibilities.
Well, I'm not entirely sure of the procedures here, but could we put up the same 3 minus quad bikes and side by sides?
I'd like to amend it a little bit further because it's access for up to 24-month period. Remember that if we're able to fence that part, then you know, that's I don't have a problem with the.
No, so the problem is with the bylaw that if it has a set timeline, if you need to revoke or extend, you must consult.
Okay.
So that's why the timeline is actually really important.
Yeah.
So if we say 12 months and we can't achieve it, that's problematic. But if we say 24 and we're already in 6, also problematic.
Could I, with the mayor's permission, could we add, other than in emergencies, because for vehicles, because you will need access through there for if there's a fire or someone gets hurt out there, et cetera, et cetera.
They're gonna go anyhow. They're gonna cut the guy gate and go, yeah.
So no one gets in trouble, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They might get in trouble for doing it.
Excluding a meal.
We need to include landowners, as well as dock to help access the land. End of,
What's the wording that Doc used, and their invitees?
and their
It's
invitees,
actually
yeah.
invitees.
Would also-
Landowners and council invited.
Council, yeah.
Sorry, just Mary, you.
Yeah.
So that appears, so it would be, would we be adding in,
Vehicles and emergency
yeah.
situation.
with an exception for landowners and council invitees? Because that would cover the emergency service.
Access to the scenic.
Well, they can go the other way.
Go the other way.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they said. That's what they said. They don't really use this way.
Can I just check on the wording there? You've got non-motorised wheel devices, then it says excluding quad bikes and side by sides. Does that mean they're excluded from the motorised vehicles?
I think we need to simplify this to allow pedestrians, bicycles.
Yeah.
Including.
When I meant excluded, I meant take it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
About the.
Bicycles.
are we giving access to e-bike?
Absolutely.
I think.
I don't
Can't
know.
have conflict of
I think so, because I don't get what, so.
Go ahead, e-bikes. Bikes. Mine's a bicycle. Just because it's got an electric motor on it.
Means I can come out and out.
Go with the coffee.
You should pay for it.
Upstairs, mop-offs, like with the grandchildren, so.
Yeah. Yeah, very.
Okay. Here is moving
Yes.
this.
And can we have a bit for the emergency services as well?
With an exception,
Emergency services would have access anyway, but they would also come under council invitees.
so we put with an exception of motorised vehicles for landowners, dock and council invitees. Yeah, of motorised vehicles. And then that way that covers everything else, but that's, yeah.
Yeah.
But they cannot come except,
Yeah, the situation.
yeah.
Are we doing 1, 2 and 3?
Yeah, so we've got a mover. We're looking for a seconder for 1, 2 and 3. Councillor Maynard. So we are moving, amend the proposed Cape Palliser paper road bylaw to allow pedestrian, bicycle and e-bike access for a 24-month period only, with an exception of motorised vehicles for landowners, Department of Conservation and council invitees. Immediately survey and define the exact route of the unformed legal road. Do we need to say in here that what we mean by define? No. Install signage to identify the same, moved by the mayor, seconded by councillor Maynard. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. And that's
Substantial.
one abstention. The motion is carried. Sorry, councillor Woodcock, which one?
No, we decided how long was it going to go through, so.
So you voted in favour.
There you go.
Okay, sorry, I just wasn't sure which way we.
This is a compromise.
Should we back up to the first meeting and put names who were for it?
Carried in the final minutes. So these three motions are carried, which brings us to items 4 and 5, which are the establishment of a stakeholder access group and the facilitation of a sustainable access plan. So the discussion now is for the correct model or mechanism to achieve this. I think we're all clear that a sustainable long-term access is required. It's for the right model mechanism to achieve this.
In that way, so when you get to that 24, will that be?
Can we move it, change it to 12, from 12 to 24 months if the bylaws going to?
Yeah, to take place at the 24-month period.
And do we need to define, but I mean, just saying a sustainable access plan, does that mean it's acceptable to the private landowners? I just wonder if that needs a little bit more. I mean,
It has to be because they're in the group, doesn't it?
sorry, what did you say? Just, yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering if we should be, because what do we mean by sustainable? That's all. I mean, does it mean that it's stopping access to private land to cause damage? I mean, I just don't quite know.
We've done that in the with 2, because 2 is the definition of the boundary of the access road.
But this is the outcome of the second part. We're going to say it's successful when there's a sustainable access plan delivered. Well, I could imagine a group saying, well, I don't think that's sustainable, and some people saying it is. So I just wonder if we need to define what we mean by sustainable. I mean, what if the private landowners don't like it because the definition of the road is such that four-wheel drive get through it? I don't know. What do we mean? It doesn't seem very concrete or objective, but fluffy.
Don't forget, under the law, as soon as the bylaw expires, it is effectively a road. You cannot stop anyone using it.
Paper road.
No, but that's not the point. That's I'm just trying to say, how do we measure the success of this outcome? I mean, so James Goodnight, the chief executive, do you know how would say that was successful, the outcome?
I'm kind of considering what Councillor Plymouth just said, and the fact that at 24 months and 1 day, the road becomes accessible to
Everyone.
vehicles because the bylaw has expired.
Right.
So, yeah, so what would that?
So
We need to, this needs to not.
Yeah.
this is more about how do you keep the road suitable for people that want to go to the coastal link. So the group it's not about an access plan, it's actually more about can the community maintain this at a level of access.
Can the wording?
So it's not responsibility. So the group the rural advisory group saying, get this group together and say, right, team, how do we maintain this for the use of everybody without it being a council problem to worry about?
There's nothing wrong with the wording in that, the way it's set out now.
Can it change?
To facilitate a sustainable access plan and solution.
Be careful from a couple of reasons. I think we can't determine the outcome ahead of time. If this group are going to meet, they need to determine the outcome.
Of course they do.
But we don't predetermine the outcome.
No.
And the other thing is, it's still this 4 and 5 is subject to 2, which is the surveying or marking of the paper road itself. If the outcome of 2 is in fact that the paper road has fallen into the sea, well, the outcome of here is a very different thing because the road actually doesn't exist. It doesn't go to where it has a very finite impact there. So this does have to be vague to a degree because we at the moment don't have the information required from 2.
Oh, that's true.
So,
But we do.
Can I just I thought that this was something that was going to be passed to the rural and coastal advisory group.
That's my suggestion.
And so even if their name goes at the front, rural and coastal advisory group to establish a stakeholder access group. You know, like with these other people in, and just make it all one, like, yeah, to facilitate some kind of access plan.
I think you need to potentially drop 5 altogether and make 4 that the stakeholder access group comprised of considers options for the future use of the unformed legal road.
Yeah, that's better.
Much better.
If it's gone into the sea, then that's a different proposition to if we're looking at access all the way through to the dock reserve.
Yeah.
So there could be a number of options in there, and it might result in another bylaw on the back of the bylaw if we can't get access. So
I'd agree with that. Can I throw a spanner in the works there that if this isn't number 5, number 5 be something along the lines of, council works with DOC with urgency to ensure that DOC, promotes
Direct together.
that their preferred access way to Stonewall is via Ngāputiki, that there is no camping on the reserve at Stonewall, etc. That the sorts of public education that will help support all of this, because at the moment there will still be a really large group of the community who have regularly used this,
Don't realise, yeah.
who do not know that actually what they're doing is not permitted.
It's
And that's not permitted by us,
illegal.
but by DOC. So there needs to be some, DOC needs to step up.
I think I'll put the preferred access ways via Ngāputiki.
Oh,
That
that's-
puts a lot more traffic on a much worse road that is actually our responsibility at the moment. We don't fund the Palliser Road, so we'll be pushing as much traffic that way rather than.
Okay, so maybe not that.
To do with camping and stuff. Yeah.
But council works with DOC with urgency to ensure that.
Yeah, because now we know a lot of our ratepayers and things, and and a lot of us learned today that there is no camping, and DOC has not, they said, well, we've not, like we just haven't put anything up that says it, but you're not allowed. It's like, okay, well, fine. People don't know what they don't know.
Amy, you could just say with the urgency to publicise that camping is not permitted at Stonewall.
So we're really just achieving 2 years reprieve. The only real definite thing we're achieving is 2 years reprieve for the land.
Yeah, and still dry.
It's really the only definite thing we're achieving. It's quite a big thing.
the first one's going is that you're currently saying to establish a bylaw that stops vehicle access for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then for the stakeholder access group in conjunction with the Royal Coastal Advisory Group to look at options for the future access and use of the unformed legal road. So in that 2 year period, that has to happen. And then either at the end of that pops out something different, or we go back to going back for the bylaw.
But at least we are achieving, 2 years of reprieve for the land.
Breathing space.
Okay, so do I have a mover for 4 that the stakeholder access group comprised of Ngāti Hingani Waka, Ngāwi Community / Ratepayers Association, Council, Rural and Coastal Advisory Group, Department of Conservation, that's actually the Outdoor Access Commission, Heritage New Zealand and the National Four-Wheel Drive Association, to consider options for the future access and use of the unformed legal road.
And if we have something that to do with and others, other organisations that I think they need to be included.
I mean, how big is this group going to be?
Well,
People then live out of
we
way.
know that.
Madam Chairman.
Sorry.
Melissa, through you, Madam Chair, is there some way in that item 4 that we word it somehow to say by invitation?
I was just going to say that
because
say here it needs to say are invited.
are invited.
And number 5, the council works with the Department of Conservation with urgency to publicise that camping is permitted at Stonewall.
Happy to move that.
Thank you, councillor Olds. Thank you, councillor Elams. All those in favour of items 4 and 5, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against,
That's not a bylaw.
all those against, please say no. The motion is unanimously carried. That brings us to the end of our meeting, unless anyone wants to tell me otherwise. I just want to acknowledge a few things. One is, as I mentioned earlier, the huge amount of passion for this area across not only our community, but the much wider community of people who use and access this area. Yes, there has been damage and vandalism and trespass out there, but by and large, people love this area, and we know that because we've seen it in the passion in which they brought their submissions to us after 3,500. I'd like to thank the staff who have made their way through that piece of consultation, rated all of the information, and brought us information, both in report and in the full submission lot that we can work with and move forward with. And I just want to acknowledge that there will be no doubt many people in our community that do not agree with the decision made today, but I truly believe that we've made steps in the right direction with a framework for further work. So thank you.
Yeah, well,
Thanks, Chair. I'd just like to say, today we all come to the table with a lot of different views, but I think we've compromised fairly well, which is really good to see. And like I say, there will be people that are upset and there will be people that are happy. But in the long term, I think we've got a way forward and we'll keep on with it. So thank you very much, Jess, and your team. Thank you very much.
yeah,
Yes,
agreed. Well done, buddy.
thank you for your.
Yeah.
Next step. And so my understanding of next steps is we have made 5 clear recommendations from Pathway Forward today, and that those recommendations will be in council on the 8th of October for final
Resolution.
final adoption.
For the bylaw.
Yeah. So sorry, for the first 3, the steps 1 through 3 will come to council, full council on the 8th of October for final adoption. So that is the place for bylaw adoption and 45 as of today. Thank you, everyone. I ask you to stand for the closing. Thank you.
Perfect. Well.